Alina's story. In a small seaside town, where mornings always began with the cries of seagulls and the salty breeze filled the homes with the scent of the sea, lived Alina. She was born and raised there, went to school, enrolled in the local university, and became a math teacher. Her life was simple, but full of warmth. Her parents were always nearby, friends lived close, and the sea was her most faithful listener. After graduation, Alina married a man she loved and trusted. He was a private entrepreneur, witty and fond of surprises. Their life in the first years was steady and calm. They dreamed of saving up for their own apartment since they rented a place, believing they could overcome anything together. In their third year of marriage, Alina found out she was expecting a child. It was the long-awaited joy. But 3 months later, during a checkup, the doctor said words that turned her world upside down. The baby might have a congenital heart defect. Her husband initially supported her, but after their daughter Maria was born, his attitude changed. Hospitals, medications, endless expenses. It was like all the patience was being burned out of him. He stayed late at work more often, then went on business trips. When Maria was 6 months old, he looked at Alina without meeting her eyes and said, "I can't do this anymore. All the money goes to treatment. I'm not ready to live like this." And he left. No long talks, no regrets, just ended it. Alina was left shattered, without a husband, without a job, with a sick child in her arms. But fate did not let her fall completely. Her parents became her support. They took Maria in so Alina could recover from depression and stand on her own feet again. Since childhood, Alina had been good at drawing. Her notebooks at school were always decorated with sketches, but she became a teacher. There was no art faculty in their town, and going to the capital was not an option then. Now, in the darkest time, she took up the brush again. Each painting became her confession. She painted the sea where she hid her tears, and the faces of people whose eyes held the same pain. To earn money, Alina started an Instagram page and began sharing her work. The first orders were modest, but gave her hope. One day, a famous artist from another country noticed her paintings. He admired her style and offered to buy several works for a good sum. This was the beginning of a new chapter. 3 years later, Alina bought an apartment in the city and took Maria, who had started kindergarten. She worked twice as hard, knowing the doctor's warning. The operation had to be done by age 7, or Maria's heart wouldn't survive. She counted the years, months, and days, and worked. One day, leaving her workshop, lost in thought, Alina bumped into a man. It was Alexander, tall, confident, with a warm smile. Her folder with sketches slipped from her hands. He caught it and laughed. "This might be the most unusual meeting I've had lately." They went to a cozy cafe, and their conversation started as if they had known each other forever. She was an artist. He was a financial director at a prestigious firm. They met weekly, talked for hours, laughed, shared thoughts. For the first time in a long while, Alina felt alive beyond the struggle. A year passed. Alexander knew about Maria, but didn't rush things. He understood that for Alina, her daughter came first. When Maria turned 7, the doctor said it was time to prepare for surgery abroad. They had to go months before the operation so Maria could adjust to the climate. Alexander insisted on coming with them. They settled nearby, spent days walking in parks, visiting the zoo, and going to the movies. Maria grew to see him as a father, and he loved her like his own daughter. On the day of hospitalization, Maria woke early, hugged her mum, and said, "Mom, I love you. Don't be afraid. We'll get through this." Alina smiled through tears, and Alexander held her hand tightly. The operation went well. The next day, they were allowed to visit Maria. She opened her eyes, looked at them, and faintly smiled. "Mum, Dad, hello." At that moment, Alina realized it was all worth it. Alexander understood he had found his place in life, right there beside them. 2 years passed. The sea still roared by the shore. But now there was no lingering fear in Alina's life pulling her down. Maria had grown into a lively, playful girl with rosy cheeks and sparkling eyes. She ran along the beach with a kite Alexander had made her, laughing so brightly that passers-by couldn't help but smile. The surgery was behind them, like a bad dream. Maria's heart beat steady, strong. Alina stood on the warm sand in a light dress, watching her daughter and Alexander laughing as they tried to hold the kite soaring into the sky. She recalled the cold hospital halls, sleepless nights at the easel, and realized fate was kind to those who don't give up. Alexander came up behind her, wrapped his arms around her, and whispered, "So, artist, how do you like our life?" Alina smiled, leaning into him. "I spent years painting the sea, but only with you did I understand what a true home is." That evening, they sat together on their terrace. The smell of fresh pastries filled the air, the sunset painted everything golden, and Maria, already half asleep, rested her head on Alexander's lap and murmured, "Dad, Mom, I love you." And Alina knew her family was the greatest and most genuine masterpiece of her life. And if you're hearing these words right now, know this. In this story, nothing is made up except the names. This is not a fairy tale, but life itself. A life that can be both cruel and gentle at the same time. Once, Alina had only her first love and dreams of simple happiness. Then came hardships. Heavy, unexpected, the kind that can break even the strong. There was betrayal, disappointment, lonely nights when it seemed that only darkness lay ahead. But it was there, in that darkness, that she found herself. She didn't give up. She didn't let pain destroy the warmth inside her. She kept her heart open, and it was that very heart that led her to meet the man who became her home. Not a home of stone, but a place where she could be herself, where she was awaited and loved. I believe life always rewards those who remain human, who don't lose their kindness even when everything is falling apart. The reward comes in different forms. For some, it's success. For others, freedom. And for some, like Alina, it's a family that becomes the most precious masterpiece of all. Let this story remind you, if you fight for life and stay true to yourself, sooner or later, life will smile back at you. Even if it feels like night all around, the dawn is already on its way to you.